This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more. Welcome back to 30 Deals in 30 Days. Today is day 28. Technically, it was also day 27, but we're going with day 28 too because I'm making up for missing you guys on Sunday. Hopefully, you didn't miss day 27 with Logan Freeman. That was really awesome getting to dive into what it looks like underwriting a deal that a broker actually sends you because a broker has put in all of the work. Excited to be diving into the deal that we have today as well. So if you have not joined the challenge, there's still 2 days left. You can still join. You can still get access to my underwriting tools, the course, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you binge it for the next 48 hours because it will be going away. Access will be going away here shortly to all of that stuff, except for the chat. That'll still be there. You can drop in and hang out with everybody. But if you want to get access to the underwriting tools and the stuff that I'm using in this, CREcentral.com/30 deals, 30 days. That link is in the description below. All right, let's check this out. This one's from Danielle. She just emailed this over to me 23 minutes ago. I was like, how prescient is that? I'm going live at 4:30, so this works out well. She says, hey, Tyler, I've been following your channel since the early days. I was the one who asked about Camp North End a few years back and sent me this picture. This is hilarious. Like, this is my, this is really old, by the way. I don't know. It had to have been probably at least 3 years ago. I haven't worn that collared shirt in years, so pretty funny to see. All right, she's got, came across a potential value-add flex space in Tucson. Quick highlights, 215 storage units, 37 flex spaces, 1,600 square foot apartment, adjacent to the historic evolving Barrios and new Mercado District, connecting to downtown via the light rail. Both in local TIF district and federal opportunity zone. That's nice. We're not going to underwrite that piece of it. I would have to spend, if you're not familiar with TIFs, it's tax increment financing. It's a pretty great incentive for redevelopment and development within cities. Incredibly complex to underwrite, and 99% of you will never come across a deal that needs to underwrite a TIF. But that's great that it has access to that. Nearby development, Rio Nuevo. The TIF supports Gadsden Company projects, Mercado District and Annex, featuring mixed use and residential community spaces, permaculture, rainwater capture, and micro retail. Undermanaged. Looks like dated storage website, 3.5-star Google reviews. Owners occupy some units, so occupancy and NOI could shift. Ownership twist. Sutton and Werschke seem to be refocusing on their 13 Mineral City buildings. They bought out a partner in 2022, so there could be a loan maturing, or maybe they own their stake outright. Sorry, must have something stuck in my throat. Okay, they're asking $4.4 million for this. Looks like it's about 40,800 square feet, so $170 a foot. Listing says around 50. Seems low versus replacement cost. Competition nearby. There's a U-Haul storage next door. Great, so we can check out comps. Other considerations, questionable flood and fire ratings. All right, we'll pull up Land Glide and see what we got. Curious about your take on something. Instead of approaching, this is what I thought would be really cool for us to dive into. What she's asking is, instead of hey, I'm bringing capital or I'm raising capital from investors, what would it look like if she partnered with the developer or the investor, right? As in, that's actually how I structured the very first deal that I ever did. I came in, partnered with a much bigger developer, which isn't saying much because I had never developed anything. Anyway, way bigger than I was at the time. And we built 42 townhomes. Down in Bellevue, 15 minutes southwest of downtown Nashville. And I found the deal, put it together, did all the sweat equity, boots on the ground. But they brought in all the experience. They brought in the capital. They brought in the financing. So I didn't really have to worry about it. And they had all of the connections in the construction world. So it made my life really easy. And I got 10% of that deal. Like, that's a great, I would do that deal every single day for the rest of my life, right? Great deal because I didn't have to take a substantial amount of risk, but I was putting in the work, right? So pretty good. And I'll show you guys how I would actually kind of set this up to figure out what you would be earning personally if you decided to do that. Because how many of you know somebody out there that's a lot bigger than you that you could just go partner with, right? Maybe you don't have the capital raising skills. Maybe you don't have a track record of deals. Well, go find a good deal and partner with somebody. Now you've got that track record. That's exactly how I got my start. So I love this. Quick sanity check. I know you often say, don't give yourself a job. But does stepping into an operator role in the right project while building a brokerage career make sense as a stepping stone, or is that a distraction? Yes, I think it does make sense. It's a great way to learn. You will not learn in any other way as well as you will actually being boots on the ground and putting the sweat in. I guarantee you that. So excited to see where this one goes, Danielle. So let's get back up here and check out the link. All right, Marystown Road, Tucson. You know what, before we do that, let's get a feel for where we are. Right off the interstate. I love that right off the bat. That U-Haul is literally next door. Oh, this is great. University of Arizona, so you got a bunch of students over there. Looks like there's housing all over the place over here. You've got the U-Haul next door. Let's inspect this building, and then we'll go check out the U-Haul. So right off the bat, first observation, it's not very obvious that this is a storage facility. It says self-storage there, but then you've got a sign here that says eco-grow. You know, these flex spaces are almost interfering with the storage. I wonder if that's causing any business issues. Maybe not, but that's just the first thing that I think of when I look at this. I would want to make it a little more obvious that this is a self-storage facility. I might even get rid of this tenant and put the office in there and turn this into more self-storage units. Or maybe we turn this into self-storage units. I don't know. I'd have to get inside and see. See, you come over here, here's the U-Haul. Like, see, that just obvious, that screams self-storage to me, and the other one doesn't quite. So that's one of the first things I'd want to do is find a way to make, like, I mean, to be fair, like these U-Haul ones, you know, a lot of the bigger box retail or self-storage facilities have done a great job of branding their buildings. Like when you see it, you know that's a self-storage facility. That other one, you can tell it was converted. And so it's just not as obvious to me from the street that this is self-storage. So that's one thing that jumps out of the page, right? Okay, let's get back. So she says it's undermanaged. Let's see how their website is. What in the world is that picture? I mean, this doesn't tell me. I mean, yeah, Wildcat Storage, I get it. This picture right here doesn't tell me that this is self-storage. The best customer service, who cares? This website should say, we are self-storage. Store your stuff here. I mean, something like that should be the tagline. Like, you know, you have basically one header to really catch somebody's attention in business. And I just don't think the best customer service gets the point across that this is self-storage. All right. Is that it? Okay. The website's just lagging. All right. Rent a unit, view a map, pay your bill. Let's see what's going on. Self-storage near you. Okay. They're trying to ride the wave of Google search. The problem is people search self-storage near me, not self-storage near you. They still have a COVID-19 update for their customers. Yep. Okay. It's still 2025. It's like, man, have we gone back in time? Yeah, I think you're right, Danielle. It looks like they're not really paying as much attention to this as they should be. Let's look at the unit prices. This is just a generic website. There's nothing. Whoa, that's cheap. Oh, would they go as small as a 3x4? Why would you have a 3x4? What's the point of that? Okay, 5 by 10, $70. That's funny that they're distinguishing between a 5 by 10 and a 10 by 5. Kind of the same thing. Wow. 10 by 7, 10 by 8, 8 by 10, 8 by 12, 20 by 6, 8 by 15, 10 by 12, 15 by 8, 14 by 9, 8 by 16. There are way too many unit options. 20 by 25 commercial space. Okay, so right off the bat, this is creating a whole lot of confusion for people that are looking at renting units. You don't need commercial spaces on here at the same, like marketed on the same website. Totally break those out and treat them as two different entities if you're going to do that, or at least put them on a different page, because this is a little much. Okay, storage units, blah, blah, blah. Wonder if they have any availability. Small, medium, large. Yeah, this is the website could use some serious work. I think there's a lot of potential there to fix that up. All right, let's look at the Google reviews. So one of the first things that you want to check whenever you're looking at a self-storage facility is the Google reviews. The Google My Business is typically horrific, and look at how bad that is, right? Like, I can't tell anything that is going on right there. Now look at this. If I search self-storage Tucson, look at that. See, look at their pictures. Substantially nicer. Let's look at these pictures. Nah, bad. Bad. I would get, if I was a tenant and I was looking to rent space, I'm probably going to Arizona Self-Storage. Look at that. This place looks really nice. They did a great job. Super professional, really clean. That's exactly where I want to be storing my stuff, right? So that's what it should look like. Instead, here's what we got. Yikes. Is that a gym? Oh, Karen says hi. What in the world? Okay. Jim, doggo. This is hilarious. Oh, pictures of pictures. All right. Well, there's so much value out here. So much already. Okay, let's dig into this listing. Let's look at some of the pictures they got. Fenced in, plenty of space. Okay, that's it. No interior pictures. Let's look at the offer memorandum. Oh, come on. Danielle, unfortunately, I cannot sign that because I will immediately violate it. So that will cause a problem for us underwriting this. .6% cap rate. Okay, they're claiming that rental rates are well below market. So what I want to see, let's pull up this website again. And then let's go look at the U-Haul. It was next door. So Danielle, I'm assuming you're the urban catalyst. Dropping in the chat there saying there's a lot more pics in the OM. Is it legal for me to send you pics? It's a gray area. I didn't read the confidentiality agreement, but basically it states that, this is for your investment purposes only, typically. And so unfortunately, it probably would just be best to play it safe and not send them over. Whoa, we went back to 2017. So this U-Haul building is brand new, or new-ish. they saw this old self-storage facility building right here, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna do this better. Okay. Let's do this again. Look up this U-Haul. Look, they've got 4.3, 347 reviews, and we only got 25. That's tough. That's going to be really, really tough to compete with them. Let's look at their website. This is uhaul.com. Go to self-storage. You know what's funny is that this is like a big corporation, and I don't think their website is much better. This has too much stuff now. Okay, so a 5x5 by 10 is $75 a month. Here's what we want to do. A 5x10 by 10, 105. And they were asking 5x10, $70. So there's a big price discrepancy here. I mean, it seems like if we invest some money, we fix all of this up, we might be able to raise our rents by $30 a unit, which is roughly, 45% on that one? Let's see what a 10 by 10 is. They've got it at 170 here. And we've got it at, do we have 10 by 10s? Doesn't seem like we have any 10 by 10s. 10 by 8s. That's odd. That's like a very common size. I would want to get in and see how these units are laid out because that's a little convoluted. Okay, so their biggest is a 10 by 15, which says something because they've done a lot of market studies to figure out. There's a 10 by 25. Is there a 10 by 15? You don't have any common sizes at all. It's not that people are necessarily going to be used to just looking for like a 10 by 15, but there's standardized sizes for a reason. Like that's just typically what people try to rent. Like I love on this website, they're saying, hey, this is good for a 2 to 3 bedroom home. That's what they're really looking for, right? So like that's some super low hanging fruit here. I don't know what the hell I could do with a 5x5. This doesn't tell me, Okay, look at that. 1 unit left. 1 unit left. So they're leasing up quite a bit of these. I wonder what it's going to be impossible to know what their actual occupancy rate is unless we called them. You might be able to call them, get that information. Sometimes you can. We would be able to get that from the offer memorandum, I would assume, on the property that we're looking at. But I could also tell you, we're at $70. So a 5x10 is 50 square feet. So $70 times 12 divided by 50. They're asking basically $16.80 a foot. We'll use that on average. A 5 by, what is that? A 5x5? 5x10 is a pretty standard size. It's going to be more of your average size. So let's see what their 5x10 is. $105. They're asking $25 a foot. They're asking $9 a foot more. So I don't know that we're going to be able to get to this. It's going to require a substantial investment and a lot of different things. But we could definitely raise the rents. Okay, so we've run comps on the self-storage. Unfortunately, Danielle, I'm not going to be able to figure out what's going on with the flex space. They say 37 flex spaces, but unfortunately, without me being able to dig into the offer memorandum, I'm not going to be able to look at that. I'm going to just assume that we have 215 self-storage. Maybe we can just combine those. Let me see how it works. I might end up combining them because the underwriting is probably going to work either way. What am I trying to do? Trying to zoom in. Okay, so net rentable square footage is 42,483. They're asking $4.4 million. Capitalized rehab. This is tough because you're probably going to have some units you got to fix. I definitely think at a bare minimum, we have to do some cosmetic upgrading to the outside. We've got to get some new signage. We got to spruce up this parking lot. We got to probably do some landscaping. We got to add some curb appeal here. We're competing against U-Haul, which is just an absolute behemoth. The good news is we actually have better visibility than them, right? If you look at that, just look at it from here for now. Whoops. That's not what I meant to do. If we're looking at it from here, you get off, here's this, the major road is, Mary's Road right here. And then you have to turn off to the side to get to U-Haul. Now, U-Haul has very good visibility from the interstate. But if we can capture those people on their way to U-Haul, let's take them, baby. So, I don't know, maybe no landscaping. All right, Tucson's different. It's a desert. But I would completely redo this building, paint it. We need to brand this building a color. A lot of self-storage facilities go with these bold colors because, hey, it helps. It works. It pops. You've got U-Haul over there in orange. Maybe we do ours in green, whatever. Or maybe even blue, right? So something. And then I would look at changing this over to the office. Make this the office, make some more storage units in here. So I'm going to assume maybe $20 a foot on the capitalized rehab side of things, which is going to give us $800,000. Whoops, short of zero. 800 grand. I think that's what it's going to take. I think if we do that, it'll create something very interesting, right? Think about $800,000, $50,000 to $100,000 to probably closer to 50 to seal and stripe the parking lot. Right off the bat, that looks better. $15,000 to $20,000 in new signage. Repaint the exterior, reconfigure that office space. You'll go through every bit of that. Maybe a little bit less, actually, but we'll see. Danielle is saying, did you notice too that the long side of the building looks like it could have street entrances to the flex space potentially? I did see that. It took me a minute when we were first looking at this building to realize that that was actually part of this because it seems so wonky, but she's talking about this building right here. It looks like this could be retail. See how there's storefront glass there? There's a door there. This is not being marketed properly. If you're trying to market this through a self-storage facility, of course tenants aren't going to really want to rent these out. You need to get a full-blown that. See, that pops. They did a different door, and now we actually can see it. But that's what I would do. You need signs above all these doors. You need something to make this pop out a little bit more. It's so drab, it blends into the background. Can you imagine how great this would be for tenants? If you had individual stalls painted or something that just made it, gave it some texture and popped it out a little bit, I think it would be substantially better than what it is today. Down payment, I'm going to assume 25%. You could always go 20%. Interest rate, probably 7%. I feel good about a 20-year amortization. And what did I say we were getting? They're asking a 6% cap rate, so we already know what they're getting. So $260,000 NOI. That's a fake number. I hate seeing that. That really kind of bothers me. because that's just lazy brokerage. If it's a 6% cap rate, the NOI, there is no chance that you have a perfectly flat $260,000 NOI. That never, ever happens. But we're just going to have to make the assumption that that is what it is. So $260,000 divided by 42,483. Woof. You're getting $6 a foot. Now, keep in mind, next door, I don't know what the occupancy rates. Typically, occupancy rates in self-storage are around 80 to 85%. You might be able to push up to 90, 92, but like 85 is a pretty good occupancy. So if they were charging $25 a foot and they're at 85% occupancy, their effective rental rate's $21.25 a foot, and we're at $6. All right? So we have substantial room for growth here, I think. The problem is you've got to get really aggressive on your lease up. You've got to fix a lot of your website. You've got to fix so much stuff. But I think that you could I think you could do it. I think you could definitely do it. I am going to assume, since that is our NOI, I'm actually going to say that we're already stabilized, which is, I know that that's not true, right? But since we're basing our rental rates off of what is actually the net operating income, it's already accounting for vacancy. It's already accounting for all of our expenses, so we don't actually need that. I'm doing this here just because I know a bank is going to discount me that anyway. I'm going to say, let's get an aggressive broker. Danielle said that she wanted to be boots on the ground. Let's see it, all right? So I want to see 109%. That's really 9% annual increases, right? So we're getting aggressive on our lease up. But you'll see here by the end, we're only at $9 a foot. We've increased rents by 50% over that time period. I don't think that that's unrealistic. I really don't, based on what we've seen so far. Operating expenses, I'm going to drop this down to like 25 cents. Ooh, whoa, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. I'm going to drop it down to probably 10 cents, 15 cents. Because this is really asset level stuff, right? You're still going to have asset level items that you're going to want to account for. Some people actually don't even underwrite that. That is an after, what you would call a non-operating expense. This spreadsheet does not account for that until here, and I don't want to go in and add in any lines. So I just consider that as part of my operating expenses when I underwrite. I'm actually not going to, you know what, Danielle, let's structure this in a pretty interesting way. You wanted to be boots on the ground. So let's say instead of paying commissions, we're actually going to give you a $20,000 base salary per year as a partner. All right? We'll drag that out. So this is Danielle's money for working on this deal. Now, keep in mind, you're still going to have a share of the deal, but this is your base pay to keep you incentivized to continue working on this deal, right? So not commission-based, which we could always go back and restructure it that way if we really wanted to. All right, here's the problem. We don't hit our debt service coverage ratio, which means we have to get way more aggressive on our lease up. Oh. You know what? Let's do this. I think in the first year, I think all of this is still theoretically possible. I think that we're still going to be severely under market, and I wonder what we could actually get it up to. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to be able to just 100% turn up over all of your rents. There may be some rents that are long-term in place that are already there that we're going to have to account for, all right? We're still not quite getting to where we need to be. But that's not a problem because you know what? Let's keep it at our 9% annual increases. I just spent $800,000 making this place look awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this equals that we're now able to raise rents. Actually, let's delete that. We're able to raise rents 25%. I mean, we're talking about an additional $100,000 a year. And if there's 215 units, That's collectively $465 per unit per year, which means we need to raise our rents per unit by $38 a foot. Okay, maybe that's aggressive because when I ran the math earlier, U-Haul was charging $30 more than us. So let's say we raise it 15%. That's more realistic. So now we're looking at, roughly $65,000 in additional rental income. I think that's feasible based on what I've seen so far. We'll continue with the aggressive rental increases. And look at that. We still only get to $10. It's probably still not going to work. It doesn't. It's not worth $104 a foot. Let's see what happens at $4 million. Oh, still not going to get it. See, Danielle, the thing that I'm worried about is like, we're starting off at 612. Maybe we keep this even. Am I able to increase 15% rents several years in a row? Which I don't actually think is out of the realm of possibility. Because again, look, we're still only getting up to $11 a foot. I don't know. It seems like really, really aggressive. But when you're at $6 a foot and your competitors are at 25, maybe I'm not getting aggressive enough with this. We hit our debt service coverage ratio almost by year 5. But if we look at 20%, so if you increase your rents 20% per year, you still only get up to $13 a foot. That's still half of what market rate is. Danielle is saying, when a TIF funds deals, are there more flexible terms available? So unfortunately, it depends on what your district looks like. When I've done it, I've done one TIF deal in my entire career, and it hinged upon how many jobs we were going to create and how much tax dollars. Unfortunately, self-storage is one of those uses that they do not care about. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. Maybe you've had conversations there and they said, yeah, hey, we'll give you TIF for self-storage. I would think that you would have to almost completely revamp this into from self-storage into apartments or creative lofts or something totally different where you're creating jobs instead of self-storage. Okay, if we increase rents at 20% per year, we get up to a point where, year 5, we're hitting it. It's just overpriced. That's the problem. For what it is today, they're asking too high of a cap rate. It's probably worth closer to 3.5. At that point, $82 a foot. Yeah, look at that. You're hitting your debt service coverage ratio by year 3. That's worth trying to figure out, right? But you're substantially increasing your rent. But still, you're only getting up to $13 a foot. That's what I'm struggling with on this is man, you have that opportunity to increase it so much. What if you are able to increase rents by 25% per year? I know that sounds high. It sounds ridiculous, but that seems like it could be an actual possibility here. We only get up to $15. Average, right? So now we're hitting our debt service coverage ratio year 2.5. Or 3.5. So here's what I would do, Danielle. You're getting paid that $20K, right? She's saying maybe the flex space side for the TIF. Yeah, it could work on the flex space side. You'd have to just talk to the city to see. So asset management fee, we'll keep that at 2%. We'll keep our capital reserves at 15 cents a square foot. I think that's pretty good considering how much cash we're bringing to the table. I would actually argue for 12 months of interest only, since we are coming in and really turning this thing around. Now, I'm going to go through this, and Danielle, I'll show you how much you'd be able to make, all right? So let's say it's 20% to the general partner who's putting the deal together, and we're going to exit this. I think a 7% cap rate's fair if we're going to really turn this around. We're tripling our money over the 5-year period at that point. Tripling your money, that's really, really good. You're making 41% cash on cash, annualized. Pretty decent. The problem is your debt service coverage ratio. So, the other thing that we could do, maybe they're going to say, hey, we need $4 million. We're not going any lower than that. Well, you're just going to have to bring more down. Maybe it's 40%. Now you're hitting your debt service coverage ratio, you're 2.5. All right. Bank's probably going to want to see it sooner than that. So you might have to bring 45% down. I think the deal is still going to work. Yeah, see, it gets up to a point where it's cash flowing 10%. And now we're doubling our money. So that's the baseline. That's the baseline for me. That's where I would start saying, you know what, this deal is going to work. 21% annualized cash on cash return. Now we're making some assumptions here, right? That we've got to get 25% increases in rent every single year. You're basically increasing your rent by 60 to 70, 80 grand a year. Which still, you're only getting up to about $15 a foot. I think that's entirely doable. Okay. So if we're trying to figure out how much Danielle would make, let's say that she negotiated the same deal that I did, where she got 10% of it. Well, that would be 50% of this. So let's see. The reallocation funds right here, what I would do is I would do equals sum of all of these divided by 2, because you're getting half of that. So you're making $61,000 from distributions. And then, so total profit is $2.9 million equals your total profit minus the investor's share of the profit. Then we got to divide that by 2. So $294,000 once you get it sold. And then you're also making, your $20K a year for handling the lease up and the turnaround. It's going to be $100,000. So Danielle, in this deal, you could get this plus this plus this. So you could walk away with $455,000 for putting this deal together. If you're working with another developer that's doing everything, right? They're bringing the capital. And to be fair, they may say, hey, we're only going to give you 20% of the general partnership, which would give you, a fifth of that, right? So that'd be what, 4%? So, if that's the case, then it would be substantially lower, right? We would have to divide this by 20. You're looking at $6,000 there. Divided by 20. Oh, wait. It should be divided by 5 if you're getting 20%. Divided by 5. Divided by 5. So if that's the case, then you'd walk away with $240,000, right? Still not a bad deal, right? Because you're getting paid to learn. You now have this pretty badass deal on your track record. All right, guys, I hope that one made a lot of sense. That was a fun exercise to go through, especially considering the fact that we're partnering with a different developer, a different investor, that they're going to bring their track record, their experience, all of their investors to the table. All we have to do is get out there and put some sweat into it. Thank you guys for joining me for day 28. I'll see y'all tomorrow for day 29. This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more.